Hail, hail. Good evening, folks, and welcome along to the Endless Celts Podcast on this Monday night. My name's Anthony, delighted to be joined tonight by two of the regular panel. Stephen, the captain of the ship, and, well, at first I thought it was Franny, or I don't know if it's the model for this season's catalogue. Sporting a cracking training top there. Franny as well. How are you, boys?
All good, mate.
All good, Tony. All good, Tony. Holidays.
Tough day at work. He's on his holidays. Look at him.
Looking very relaxed, isn't he?
Looking forward to this. Looking forward to getting stuck in. We'll have a game to talk about, which is great. So looking forward to it.
Super, boys. Delighted to be joined by tonight. As I say, plenty to talk about. We've got, like you say, a game to look back on, Stephen, a game to look forward to, some transfer rumours, and we'll maybe be discussing whether or not the official fanzine, Rangers Football Club, the Daily Record, should be facing a ban from Celtic Park after their two disgraceful articles a day. But yeah, all of that and more. We're delighted to be joined by, looks like, quite a few folk in the comments already. Everybody's ready to get wired into the favourite subject, which is Glasgow Celtic, which is great to see. So welcome along, everybody. Get involved, get posting, get commenting, and Stephen's doing his usual. He's in charge of all the comments tonight, so he'll bring all that up, and that can help channel the discussion. And obviously shout out to our show sponsors, Sharna as well. Clothing range inspired by life on the terraces. And yeah, we're looking forward to getting some releases from the guys soon, and for our Super 6 winner as well. We've not forgot about you. But when we get your prize, it's definitely in the post, we promise. And so we'll just get started then, boys. Stephen, I'm going to come to you first because I know you take pre-season friendlies a lot more to heart than most. So I was thinking about you on Saturday when I'd seen that we'd ran out comfortable winners, and we confirmed that it was a comfortable win this time. There was none of the cloak and daggers of the first game against Portmanese. But yeah, a 4-1 win, 4 different goal scorers, and hold the front page, a penalty save for Joe Hart. You must have been pretty impressed by that.
Oh, mate, when I seen Joe Hart save a penalty, I was like, oh no, he's going to be number 1 next season. Just messing. But I mean, to be fair, like you said, I know tongue in cheek. Like I like watching pre-season because you can kind of gauge who's making an impact, and young players like Ben Summers, Ben McPherson were playing in that game as well. I think McPherson got an assist and Summers got a goal as well, which was great to see. In regards to the game, it's a far cry from what it was last Wednesday, Anthony, when we played Portmanese the first time in Portugal. No one knew anything. It was like the most secretive pre-season game you could ever imagine. There was no scores or no lineups put out, but to be fair to Celtic for on Saturday, they were on the ball and they were telling us what was happening, giving us updates and stuff. And they come out against a team like Portmanese, who are in the top league in Portugal, and win 4-1 quite comfortably is a good sign. And by the looks of it, it was 2 different teams each half. I think there was a lot of young boys mixed in and experienced pros, and it was just good to see all in all. And in terms of the goals, you're probably going to look on them individually, but I thought that some of the play by especially Dyson was really good as pressing. He was the catalyst for the first goal and the penalty kick, and then I think it was the Ben Summers goal as well. He pressed and the keeper kind of fluffed it into midfield, and McGregor laid it into a batting, and he switched it over to Summers, and a lovely chip finish over the goalkeeper to the bottom left hand corner. But yeah, a lot of things to take positivity from, and I don't know. In my head, there seems to be a wee bit of a tactical tweak. It looked like the Mieda was more central. I don't know if that's what Rodgers is planning to do, because all of his pressing, which I seen from the short clips, were from the central side and not coming from the left.
So goes in a sling, Stephen.
Listen. We'll get on to that because it looked like he was okay. I was hooked, line and sinker, and Willie does he does talk me as and like, you know, Willie's like Captain McNair, like, but yeah. Good positives, and again, like I said, getting the young boys involved, and like Bosun Lawwell playing centre back as well. I'm all for that.
That's as Stephen's saying, Franny, you know, you can never put too much emphasis on results. These games are, you know, a little more than a bounce game in terms of getting the fitness levels back up and just getting the boys with the sort of like that in-game feel again, so to speak. But we always say it's the age-old thing. If we lose one, they're meaningless. If we win them, they're vital warm-ups. Have you seen the goals yourself, and what do you make of the victory on Saturday?
much like yourself, Anthony. I mean, I have seen the goals. Obviously, Celtic, our social media team posted all the goals this time. They done the unique angle thing. So, seen the goals there, and they were good goals. Up, like I said, Brendan working wonders. He's got Joe Hart saving penalties and stuff. So there's a lot to be said in these couple of weeks. Well, it's officially only 10 days he's actually been in the job, but even if that, but it's always. You can never read too much into it, to be honest. I think going for the 10 off memory, as much as we want to forget that season, I think we had a really good pre-season then and had an absolute horrendous season. Postecoglou's first season, pre-season was horrendous, I think, and to be fair, second season, it was much of a muchness. So it's like you say, for me, pre-season is all about, like you say, getting the sharpness up, getting the players fit, getting them ready to go for the start of the season. Things obviously the last couple of seasons it's been great because obviously you're not rushing to get friendlies and just putting guys. You can bleed some of the youth players in, like Stephen was saying, like Summers, and I don't know if Fat I played. I've no idea. Like lineups and stuff as such, but without the qualifiers now, we've got a chance to play more friendlies, and obviously you'll potentially be able to rotate that squad a wee bit better to get guys sharper, quicker, and they're not having to go, right, well, we need to watch what we're doing with guys, having to maybe sort of micromanage guys so that you're going, oh, we've got a qualifier next week, we can only give him half an hour or something. So it's good to kind of get all these guys in a habit of winning. It's a great habit to have to win games. It's always better to win games regardless of what level they're at. But I would, if we could beat the rest of the friendlies, I'll not read too much in it. For me, it's just about, like you say, getting the sharpness up. It's good to see them, to see maybe you can maybe see who's got to take their opportunity or who's maybe new managers are maybe willing to give an opportunity and things like that. So I'm much like you, Anthony. I don't read too much. What's that?
Did you see on Twitter? Franny, didn't mean to cut you off there, but did you see it? Did you see on Twitter there someone made a college video thing of all these managers in pre-season just going, it's about getting minutes in the legs, minutes in the legs, minutes in the legs.
So it must be in page one of the sort of manager guidebook. It's just pre-season, it's minutes in the legs, and for me it is that. Obviously, if you win the majority of your games, it's got to give a wee bit of confidence. Players will be good. Players are getting the habit of winning, but again, if you get a couple of indifferent results, I'm not reading too much into it. You just want the guys ready for a couple of weeks' time, fit and ready as much as they can be and sharp as they can be. But all the goals are good. Look, I can't say I've seen any of the game apart from the goals. Bernabeu, Stevens man actually played a really good pass for one of them, but
also, by the way, he fouled that pass up and crossed it in, which was fantastic.
Second game of pre-season, it was against the same team once again, but a win's a win. Minutes in the leg, as we say, Anthony.
If you go by the comments as well, there's a lot of love for Ben Summers. People are really excited about this young guy, and you also have to take into account. Yeah, there has been signings coming in. I know, like statement signings. Obviously, we're getting the two Korean guys over the line in the next couple of days. I think they're going to be joining us tomorrow, apparently, according to Twitter. But it's the excitement when you get to see the young guys that I love the most. That people are Ben Summers with that lovely composed finish. I mean, it looked like he was playing for years of his, just chipped into the bottom left corner. You mentioned Burnaby, Franny. He done that outside of the foot pass to Fada. Fada chased the ball, and then he put it back to Burnaby. He fouled that pass 70 yards and crossed it in. I think Abada finished it with a lovely finish, but the bottom left hand corner again. So it's one of these things. Like you said there, it's about the system. If he's going to change stuff, getting used to that, fitness in the players, and then also integrating the new signings. And if I come to the comments we second, Anthony,
of course,
Plums McNugget. Brendan's waiting he has it clear out before he brings quality signings. He referenced that today. Joe P, buzzing to be in live. Good to have you along. Paul Dad, evening. And then Brian Moore, I was shocked to see Abada still at the club at this stage. But to be fair, all the footage I've seen, Brian Moore, Abada looks really up for it in the training videos, and he was giving it his all in that game there. So that's good signs. If the interest is cool, then we can keep a quality player on the books.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Stephen, I'm actually there was a couple of players, I know we've kind of touched on it, but just wanted to kind of give a little bit more focus to them as well. And Abada was one of them. Not necessarily because of any potential interest cooling or simmering or anything like that, but I just felt, and it was basically around the goal in particular, and because I know obviously you made a big call on Alexandra Bernabe on Friday night with Ross. If anyone's missed any kind of gloves off Sky Sports programmes, we just skipped back in on Friday night. The debate was flowing between the two guys. But yeah, one of them, of course, was about Bernabe, and I know you're one of his sort of biggest fans, and certainly from the little snippets, he certainly looked like he was perhaps being a little bit more attacking in terms of that kind of overlap, which we know was sort of Kieran Tierney's speciality during Brendan's first reign. We know obviously that Ange preferred the more inverted type of fullback role, but he certainly looked like he'd taken it well. It was a great cross in and a great goal from Abada, it has to be said. And also as well, I thought Ben Summers, from what we've seen on the clips, he looked great as well. As I say, we know from past interviews that you've did, Stephen, with the young players on here, and if anyone's looking for them, they're available on YouTube. Just scroll down, there's been a few of them the time we've been doing the show. They all do admit that there is a pathway to the first team, but it's a very, very difficult path to trod. And when, even if it is essentially a bounce game in a Portuguese training camp, or whether it be a bit more a league game at Celtic Park, or when these guys get their chance, they really have to take it. And all you can say so far is that he has.
Yeah, I mean, starting with Bernabe first, I didn't know this, but Rogers speaks Spanish. So there you go, automatically, you can help him settle in. And ever since, I'm not saying that I started this, by the way, but ever since the podcast on Friday, I've seen a lot of support on Twitter about Bernabe, about people saying he's going to come on the game. And I like seeing that, because you need to support our players, obviously. I mean, in terms of him playing that the kind of role, that's not going to take this wee comment off. It's the way you said it there. He looked like he was just sticking to the byline. He came in a wee bit. He played the outside of the football, the Fada. And by the way, kudos to the Rocco Fada for chasing that ball down and having the composure to put it back to Bernabe, and one-time cross in, and Abada finishes it. I thought it was a great bit of play by Celtic and a great bit of teamwork. In regards to Summers, he's one of the guys in the B team that the Celtic are really excited about, alongside Rocco Fada and Bosun Lawwell at centre-back. So if Rodgers can see a way forward for these young guys and also put Bernabe in the team, I'm all for it. So, I mean, it's exciting. You get to see a new style of play. We all know he said he's going to do a wee bit of tweaks here and there. He might not be doing them for the fullbacks anymore, which is okay. That probably suits Bernabe down to the ground more than it actually does Taylor, because pace-wise he's obviously quicker, and Taylor, we all know, is far better coming in the field and playing with the midfield and linking up with the strikers. But yeah, it's exciting times, and I hope Summers can kick on. I hope it's not one of these cases where the young guys get an opportunity in pre-season and then you don't see them until the last 3 or 4 games of the season. For me, that's pointless. If you're going to keep them in and around the squad, just keep doing it. Put them on the bench, give them games here and there. Or if, like the best case scenario, send them out on loan to another club and get them first team exposure, and then you can bring it back next year and he could hopefully stake a claim for the first team.
Yeah, here's hoping. Here's hoping. So yeah, Franny, as I say, a 4-1 win. You can't really ask for any more than that. But more importantly, like as we were saying earlier about pre-season, certainly the comments echoed by the manager seemed to suggest that he was really impressed with the fitness of the team coming straight back after the summer break, and the intensity that they were playing at. And he's laid out in no uncertain terms that he expects the team to be aggressive with and without the ball. So in terms of the opening part of pre-season, we have to put it down as a job well done.
And totally, it's a refreshing change for a manager having a pop at the previous guy saying how the players are in the fit and things. It's I feel we talk about saying it's about getting minutes in the league. I feel that's a sort of a default excuse that a lot of new managers use for maybe a slow start this season. So Brendan Rodgers, obviously no excuses straight off the bat. Players are fit, they play at high energy, which we know they were all fit. And I appreciate maybe 60, 70 minutes and maybe the first 11, certainly that maybe tailed off a wee bit, but a lot of that's down to the intensity. But so it'll be interesting to see. I think Rodgers will keep that on. His teams, certainly at Celtic, were a really fit team. They went the full 90 minutes. And to kind of touch on some of the players, like Stephen said, guys like Summers and Vata who seem to be getting a bit of game time. I think it'll be. I would like them to stick around, especially when we've still got the 5 sub thing. For me, I'm not saying maybe have the 2 of them on the bench every week, but possibly there's an opportunity to have at least one of them, I think, on the bench. And maybe if you were winning that game 3-4-0, especially at home, just chuck them on. And not a token 5 minutes. Chuck them on with... Obviously, that will depend on the score at the time, but if you're up 4-0 at half time and stuff, there's no reason not to give these guys half an hour. And by the way, he's making... I know Anthony's got to come out, but he's making that new kit look good, that will. But what was I going to say? Aye. So for me, there's no reason, and they could really do Celtic a favour with this UEFA quote. It feels, I felt really looking into it, and then you hear like guys like Stephen Welsh might be for the off, and I've not really heard much about David Turnbull, but his name kind of crops up for time to time. So the home quota thing must be high on the agenda, and these guys like your Summers and Vata could help that out. So it'd be good to see how they progress. See if they can stick around, and see if Rodgers sticks around with them, providing obviously doing the job. You didn't want guys just on the bench, just a token gesture. But also Bernabei, I mean, I'm similar to Ross. I struggle to see a football player in the guy like, but I'll defend the guy. Like I'll balance it out. His pass was it's hard to base it on a unique angle. Yeah, again, I'm not going to ditch everything I've said about the guy on a 1 minute 29 second clip, I think it was, that Celtic posted. It's a lot to go on, but as I say, you can only, it can only be balanced, and it was a good pass, followed up. He actually taken the ball, and I think he megs the guy initially, so he's done well in the lead up to that goal. But as much as I didn't rate the boy, if he turns out to be a great player, hands up. It's 1-1 at the end of the day. It's turns out to be a great player. Celtic are obviously playing well, so it's one of them. But for me, Bernabei's got a long way to go to prove that he can be successful at Celtic. But I appreciate he's a young laddie. I don't know. He's obviously got a young kid and things like that. So there'll be outside factors that are maybe playing a part in his tricky start. I mean, Greg Taylor for a kickoff. He's probably looking at Greg Taylor every week going, fuck me, man. I'm got to be on it for 90 minutes or whenever I get a chance. Because he's just...
It's a good thing, though. It's a good thing, though.
I know, it's a good thing. But again, he could be struggling mentally with it. He could be struggling with that to try and cope with that, knowing that he's maybe going through a sticky patch and be like, I know I'm not playing great here, and I'm probably going to be out the door. Well, not out the door, but I'm not going to be in the team next week. And then Abada, the transfer stuff does seem to have cooled in him a wee bit. And again, we don't know why, but we don't know why it is. But he could be Brendan Rodgers, James Forrest this time round. They're very similar players, got an eye for goal and things like that. And I could see him doing really well on it. I mean, he's done great for 2 seasons. His numbers are absolutely frightening. Absolutely frightening when you consider it. What is he, 20, 21-year-old? I know he cost maybe 3 to 4 million, but still, for a young lad, his numbers are absolutely ridiculous. So it's one of the ones I wouldn't be like, we've lost a bad. If he went, I'd be annoyed, but it'd be one of the ones I could accept. But at the same time, it's one that'll be happy if he stays about. So it's a weird one, I think, for me. But I hope he does stay about, because I think it could be one of the guys when he leaves, you'll be like, the numbers were actually really good. They were a lot better. He was a lot more useful than we actually thought. And he posted an interesting thing on Instagram the other day, like if it was a year or 2 years, so he signed and things like that. So maybe his head's in the right place. Maybe Rodgers has had a word with him saying, look, you can be a key player for me. I really believe in you and stuff. And time will tell us.
I think it goes back to the fact as well. You look at what Rodgers done for Harvey Barnes at Leicester. He basically came from nowhere, and he was outstanding for a couple of seasons under Brendan Rodgers. And you look at Abada, and then you also can tail that back to Sinclair. He's had a good track record with wingers and like Forrest as well. So if you're Abada, I mean, obviously he's going to have interest. We're not stupid, whether it's Saudi Arabia, whether it's a mid-table English club. But if he has another, like you said, Franny, a season with great numbers, the next year he can move to a better team or a better standard of league in terms of the Bundesliga, Serie A, La Liga. So he can open up different avenues. And I think Rodgers, for me, like we all know about his weakness is dribble and taking players on. If he can improve that aspect of his game, I think that would be he'll be on the road to the top level. I think because he follows up in the box. He's good at one touch finishes. He can get in the bout it and stuff. We've seen what he done to the Borna Barisic on loads of occasions. Just sat him on his arse. So if he can take players on, he can sort that bit of his game out and not hide in the big game so much. I think he'll be an excellent player for the season coming. Not to say he hasn't been, but he'll be even better under Rodgers.
Yeah, I would agree with that, definitely. So touching on what you were saying there, Franny, as well, just before we move on to the next leg of the pre-season tour, it was obviously, of course, following the closed-door game on Wednesday. Saturday was really the first glimpse we got of the boys sporting the new hoops, not in the PR photo shoots, but actually out on the park. Now, goes without saying, Franny, this has been a controversial strip. It has not been met with universal love by any stretch of the imagination. And I think most of us in the group chat, even originally when we first seen it, were less than impressed. I have to say though, like a lot of things, it can grow on you after a while. And I have to say, I did like the look at it on Saturday, and then I was actually up in the Celtic shop in Livingston yesterday, and seen it up close for the first time. And I actually think it's pretty snazzy. I don't know if you've seen the mocked up image going around of the jersey with a C.R. Smith sponsor, and it just looks absolutely tremendous. And they're pretty much saying that we've kind of proven now that the actual issue is the Daffabet logo rather than the actual, quite unique design of the hoops, shall we say. But I have to say, it's grown on me after not liking it initially. What's your thoughts?
I was similar to you. I hated it straight off the bat. I absolutely hated it. I was struggling to look at it and go, oh, I mean, I like that, but I mean, you even had like the long sleeve top where it had the broken stripes down it, which I think is
the long sleeve is a shocker. I think we probably can all agree on that. But I think in the short sleeve, I do quite like it.
I think that's a ploy to make you buy like the SPFL badges or the Champions League badges just to fill that in, just to scam you some more money. And then like even up until it like sort of it came out, like you see McGregor even in it and stuff. It was even he looked raging to be in it, and you were like, this is just terrible. And maybe it was an age thing, Anthony. We're all, apart from Stephen, like he's not even touching 30 yet, but we're all, most of us in the podcast are all touching 40 and stuff. So it's maybe just an age thing. We're not into what the young team are into these days and things, so folk could maybe say that. But it was Saturday, I think. It was Saturday or Sunday when Wally kind of put it in the group chat saying he's coming into it. Honestly, I breathed a big sigh of relief because I was just too feared. I was too feared to put it in the group chat. I was like, I'm actually liking this top, and Big O was one of the reasons. There's something about him. He just looks so cool in it. Absolutely, it could be the sunshine and things like that, but it looked really good in the unique angle videos and stuff. So I'm quickly coming into it, and I might potentially buy it, but I mean it's a bit steep at 70. It's a bit steep at 70 quid, but perhaps that's an absolute shocking price for a football top like it's 70 quid.
Oh, absolutely. That's a whole nother podcast, to be honest, Danny. But I have to say,
coming into like I'm warming to the black on it, which is I think that was everything that was wrong with it.
I do think, obviously they were playing in Portugal. It does look great in the sun, and I think that's Gaga actually said that when I first seen it in the group chat. It says one of the ones that'll look good by the pool. I'm going to Mallorca in September, so I've kind of said, if I can maybe stretch the budget a wee bit and I maybe treat myself to it, but I'll wait and see. Stephen, what about yourself? I know you quite like all the different snazzy kit designs. We're going to be doing a World Cup of Celtic kits pretty soon. Just when I think the next couple of weeks it's going to be coming up. But what's your own thoughts on it?
I mean, look, I get all why people are raging, and people kind of going at the way it looks. Looks like it's been spray painted. Looks like it's been painted by an 8-year-old. Looks like it's been done in clip art and Microsoft and all that type of stuff. So I get all that, but at the end of the day, kits are going to be changed, right? They're made to market in certain areas, whether it's youth, whether it's middle age, whether it's older people. So I think Celtic and the Adidas team who designed this kit are targeting youth specifically for this. because you see the different designs. You see, and by the way, you look at teams in Italy, you look at teams in Spain, they always change their kits. It's different designs every year, and they're made into this big, massive thing. And what was that top you got last year, Franny, that began with V? Venezia or something?
Oh, Venezia.
Venezia. I mean, they were like the fashionista of football last year with all their different kits. Do you know what I mean? So it's all about marketing.
Making it.
Aye, do you know what I mean? It's all about marketing. It's about making as much money as you can for the club. And yeah, I agree, the hoops shouldn't be touched and they shouldn't be altered, and 100% on board with that. But at the end of the day, it's going to change sometime. We've seen it with New Balance, we've seen it with Umbro, we've seen it with all the different kit manufacturers we've had throughout the years. And like you said, we're going to be doing a big, massive podcast and all different kits, and we'll be doing votes and stuff and all that. It'd be good fun. But I like it. I do like it. I've never had a problem with it from the start. And John, who's on the podcast, he is fuming about this kit. And honestly, every time anyone brings it up, it's just anger. It's red alarm bells going off in his head. But we all thought it was going to be that wee snazzy one with the disappearing, like the visible logo and the invisible sponsor. But again, you can't really do that. That's an anniversary kit. The sponsors want to be first and foremost. They have to be on the kit because they're paying the big dollar for Celtic every year and getting that kind of money in. But yeah, I get everyone's gripe about it, Anthony. But see, to be honest with you, I said this in the group chat the other day. I'd watch Celtic playing a bin bag. I love Celtic. Do you know what I mean? I just love watching Celtic. And yeah, the hoops are forever with Celtic Football Club. And I know they're trying to say that it was designed on this stained window that they always talk about. And all that
stained
kind of
window's got a lot to answer for, isn't it?
I know it does. To be fair,
it looks not like the stained window, but that was clearly they've said that because the kit was getting so much grief. I say it's about the stained glass window again.
If you look at the turnaround, you would say probably 80% of the support didn't like the kit. Now I would say 80% of them do and 20% of them don't. Do you know what I mean? It's once you get to see it, and like Franny said, when you see it on the pitch, you kind of forget about all the alterations that have been done, and you get on with supporting Celtic Football Club, and that's what I'm going to do. I like the kit. If you want to bet, I'm not going to bet. If you want to bet, bet. If you want to wear it. So if you don't want to bet, don't fucking bet. Just don't do it. You know what I mean? So yeah, I like it. I like the away one better, but the home one's nice too.
Yeah. Well, I have to say, like, this is the kind of thing I have about it. Just before we move on, I totally get. I mean,
someone, Alistair.
Oh, there you go. Flattery will get you everywhere, Alistair. That's showing Franny's good books. But like, I think to be fair, over the years, I would agree that obviously the Lisbon kit, the Centenary kit, probably the one we wore in the UEFA Cup final, and possibly Nike's 2007 Lisbon anniversary top, and maybe the New Balance one. Again, the 50th anniversary Lisbon top. They're probably my kind of favourite kits for over the years. So,
Anthony, what would you say is worse? What would you say is worse? That Finn hoops or the one we have now? Remember the Finn one we had? I think it was against Barcelona.
Oh no, I like
that. But I think that was
the thing.
Originally, it was because we used to have the really thinner hoops when we first started. I think that was one of the once we moved to the hoops, that was, and I'm sure there was a thing we had 9 hoops on it that year rather than 7, and it was because of something to do with, again, a commemorative thing about 9 in a row. So that's the reason. I thought that was quite iconic. I liked it with the black socks as well, like we used to do. But like you say, these kits change every year. So even if you don't like it, we're going to be wearing something different next year anyway. But like my favourite Celtic tops are probably the more traditional ones, and people obviously say, "Oh, that should be it." But if you're releasing that pretty much every year, that's going to get a bit boring as well, isn't it? I mean, the worst one, the one that I've ever seen, and I'm actually going to quote Ross on it, was the one from the 2019-20 season, just for a couple of years ago. It was the one that we wore in the League Cup final when Julian scored the winner against Rangers. I think it was New Balance's final one, actually. I don't know if people can remember. It was sort of all white around this part, and then we had like an all green collar. And I can always remember in the group chat and Ross posting, he says that the sort of shoulder / collar should actually be against the law, and it's always kind of stuck with me. I says I would agree with that. That's probably my least favourite hoops in recent times. But listen, like you say, Stephen, there'll be ones that love it, ones that will buy it. It'll still sell by the bucket load, and this time next year we'll be discussing it about a whole new top again. But yeah, just thought I'd get your boys' thoughts on it after its first airing on the pitch. And it'll probably get another airing on Wednesday, Stephen, when the next phase of the pre-season gets underway. Far more tougher affair, I would argue. We're over in Japan, Yokohama. It's going to be like the Beatles, I think, Beatlemania. We know what the Japanese fans are like once they get a hold of a certain thing. And Celtic certainly catching the imagination over there at the moment, just with the influx of Japanese players we've had. You look at your Hatatis, your Kyogos. It's going to be a real homecoming for them, and fingers crossed. We can build around it and build the name of Celtic over there on a more permanent basis. We obviously had the initial burst with Nakamura, then it sort of faded away. Are you hoping that with the players that we have at the moment and this tour can cement something a bit more permanent?
Yeah, I mean, that goes back to the kit again. It's marketed to the international market. So I mean, it's sitting in the shelves in Japan already in the Adidas store, and then amongst Manchester United, Real Madrid, Chelsea, all these global giants, we're there, and I think that's fantastic. So I mean, it's something we'll have to keep going. You referenced we had Nakamura, and just came across it today on Twitter. There was a pre-season game against Brisbane Roar in 2009, and another Japanese player, Koki Mizuno, actually scored a diving header in that game, and Celtic won 3-0. There was high hopes for him, but obviously he tailed off. I think he's still playing. I think he's in J League 2 in the second division in Japan at the minute. But yeah, you said it there. I mean, Yokohama, they're still in their season, I believe, so they'll be fully fit and ready to go. I think it'll be a really competitive game. And this is, again, it goes back to results and stuff. Like Franny said, it's for us, it's fitness, it's minutes in the legs, to coin the phrase. I know you said I like to look at these in depth, but at the end of the day, if we do a good account of ourselves, I'm more than happy. And if the boys, as I said, the young boys get on and get a couple of minutes as well, I think that'll be great. But yeah, going to Japan, there's already pictures online of Maeda, Kobayashi and Kyogo all sitting on a settee together and all that type of stuff. And obviously, you've got Iwata, who just signed, permanently as well. He's coming with a big following. So a lot of Japanese. I mean, speaking of Dan Orlowitz, the Japanese guy who does the football over there, when he's been on our channel, he was saying that a lot of Japanese people follow individuals rather than teams. Yeah. So like you would get people following the careers of a Maeda, the careers of a Kyogo, because they're so invested in them. Because obviously they come through the university, then they have to get a scholarship, and then they move on to professional clubs, and they can build quite a following for themselves. And it's football's business now. Do you know what I mean? Football, you have to generate your income. And if we're getting TV deals in Japan, which I believe we have at the minute, and then if we're going to get TV deals in South Korea, it's something we have to do as a club. And I think it's a great bit of thing that like Michael Nicholson and Chris Mackay and whoever's involved and Mark Lawwell in these scouting missions to pick up these players. We're not picking up players who are just coming in, develop a part in the squad. We're picking up Kyogo, who's the top-class striker. We're picking up Maeda, who has the work rate of, I don't know, with Duracell Bunny. Iwata, who looks like a tank. Kobayashi, who I believe will settle in. Do you know what I mean? So there's a lot of potential with the guys who brought in from Japan, and I think it's for them more than anybody. They get to show the Celtic team around all their landmarks, and I know that sounds cheesy, but it's true. I mean, they're bringing their teammates into their culture, what they've came from, to understand them a bit more, and I think that's just great. And the Japan tour is something to be, I think it's something to be embraced. I'm looking forward to watching the games against Yokohama and Gambo Osaka. I think they'll be really competitive, and I think it's about time Celtic explored these markets. It was short-lived with Nakamura and Koki Mizuno, but I think we'll have the right nucleus now where we can carry that on. I mean, we'll have Maeda and Kyogo for an extra 4 years, hopefully, so there's plenty of opportunities to exploit. And also as well, have you seen the footage on Twitter with the Celtic fans over in Japan already?
Yeah,
it's insane. In pubs singing and that, like, that you do not get support like that anywhere else in the world, and I think it's just great to be involved in, and more Japanese fans will get the better. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, totally agree, Stephen. And I think, as we say, we're always, a club, it's one of our, great selling points. We're very, bohemian and outward looking and wanting to, we're a club that always, builds bridges rather than walls. And Franny, just your own thoughts on the tour. As I say, it's going to be a step up in quality, definitely opposition, but it's definitely, and our business heads on it, like Stephen was saying there, it's a chance for us to, a real money spinner as well, and to really build the name of Celtic over there. And obviously the games itself, we've got one on Wednesday, I think the other one I believe is on Saturday. I think it's live on Celtic TV or, fire sticks for the most days. What you looking at? You going to? You're off on your holiday. Are you going to look forward to hopefully catching it whilst you're off?
Hopefully I'll catch it when I'm off. I'll need to do a wee rain dance or something on Wednesday morning because no doubt Lynn will have some activity planned for us if the weather's nice, which is fair. The both of us are off, so I'll probably nobody to waste it sitting in the house with the kids and stuff. The kids about, so try and get out if the weather's fine. But hopefully I can catch a game Wednesday, Anthony. But it'll definitely be a step up in quality, like you say. Yokohama are well into their season and stuff. And obviously, it's not beating around the bush. It's a market employ while we're over there. It's a no-brainer as well. We've got to kind of football, as much as we like to like it or not. It's a business now. You've got to kind of open up these markets, these revenues, and the Asian market is massive. You just look at some of the EPL teams and things. I know they don't necessarily need for the money coming from Asia, but I think TV-wise, Asian money is quite big on the EPL game and things, and your Barcelona's, your Real Madrid, and maybe like your Bayern Munich stuff, but especially like the English Premier League, I think they're massive on it. So I think seeing like a couple of things and stuff like the Australian tour, I don't really think we sort of marketed ourselves well there. I don't think we captured the imagination of the public over there as well as we should have. So I'm hoping they've maybe set up like maybe wee fan zones or something. They've maybe tried to market a wee bit better. I know Stephen was saying they've obviously got the tops in the Adidas shop, which is good. I'm wondering if they'll maybe try and sell them.
Apparently, Franny, they have 39 food trucks going to the Yokohama game, so they've obviously marketed it well, which is...
But that's good. Like, I think you should maybe have sort of merchandise round about the stadium. I mean, imagine them all, but try and make sure there is, and just like you say, you're there to market the club. Obviously, it's, and as much as it might be horrible to say, you're doing it on the back. We wouldn't be over there if we didn't have the Japanese boys. Obviously, we've got 4 of them. Well, Adeguchi's obviously out in loan and stuff, but 4 currently in the squad. I mean, we're there because they're there. We're kind of using them as horrible sounds, as bait, if you like, to try and get some money. We're not there for any other reason than just to try and make money, and rightly so. Every other club does it. Every other club does it. I mean, just look at Tottenham. They went into Australia. No brainer, absolute no brainer. So hopefully we market it well, and like I say, it'll be good for the Japanese boys, especially Maeda and Total Mind. But did Iwata not come for Yokohama as well?
Yeah,
it'll be good to maybe. I don't know if they've had a chance to be back at the club since that, so it'll be good for them to kind of go back to the clubs and stuff. So I'm looking forward to it. As I say, hope if I can catch it. It's a nice gesture to try and tie in with a team that certainly will have picked up some of the guys' fee, but I just hope the Celtic hierarchy are marketing this well, because there's no point going over there just as a token gesture. Try and make it worthwhile long term and stuff. Try and, like we keep saying, we've not got the money that a lot of these teams in Europe. So any extra sort of income we can try and generate, I think is massive. In the Asian market, like we said, there's a lot of money to be made there, I think.
Oh, it's on tap. Like, in terms of potential, I think that market is incredible. And I know you talked about the amount of Japanese players we have, but at the end of the day, we have to fill the void of basically trying to catch up with other teams around us in terms of money out with our league. And I think you said there, having merchandise around the stadium, selling everything we can, and I hope the club gets a cut of that. And I think obviously Celtic will be getting paid for this tour in some shape or form, whatever that money turns out to be. I'm sure it'll be big money for the following we're going to create over there. But yeah, it's exciting. And like you said, Anthony, the first part of the tour was a great success in Portugal. So moving forward to Japan, all good so far.
Absolutely, let's try and keep it going. So moving on to the sort of your favourite, both your favourites section of the show at the moment, transfer rumours. It's that time of year. I have to say though, boys, I have to disappoint you, but it is pretty low in terms of the incomings. shall we say? I know you, Stephen. You touched a lot on Friday. You and Stephen about you and Ross regarding Kieran
me and
Tierney
myself, was
and the two South Korean players that were just basically waiting on the official announcement. I think so. No one to necessarily turn into a repeat of Friday's show, and obviously the goalkeeper as well. It's looking like he's perhaps agreed personal terms with the. I think is it Fenerbahce? I think it may have been, yeah. So in terms of incomings, the only other one that's kind of raised its head over the weekend is that of Leicester City's Johnny Evans. You know, been around the block a lot of times. You know, started his career at Manchester United, big part in Sunderland's promotion under Roy Keane back in the day, and then obviously he's had a pretty decent spell at Leicester City in recent years under Brendan. Hence, maybe why these rumours are starting to circulate. But also on the outgoings part, just as Plunge had said in the comments earlier about this potential, the squad being trimmed. We did see today that it looks as though, and to the surprise of no one really, that Brendan seems to have prioritised getting rid of the likes of Ayeti and Irigide. Who's the other two I want to say? Sorrow. These guys are still in our books. It's incredible. And I think I've missed one out there. Can't remember who the other.
Was it Liam Shaw?
Yeah,
Liam Shaw.
That was the one. Liam Shaw. Yep, and also Stephen's favourite James McCarthy, who hasn't signed a new 4-year deal. Maybe had fell for the joke.
I didn't.
So Stephen,
No,
just your thoughts initially on the potential pros and cons of Johnny Evans coming to Celtic. And just your thoughts on, the potential start of the exodus as well.
Well, first of all, on Johnny Evans, 36 years old, plenty of experience, and you said he's been around the block. Anthony, he can stay out in that block and walk past Celtic Park. I wouldn't have him about me. Would not have him about me. I don't understand why you would bring him in. I know we brought in Kolo Toure when he first came in, but that to me that was just to kind of help him along that journey because he inherited a really kind of average team at that point. Evans, for me, he's too old. We don't need him. I think you'll kind of stunt the development of like a Bosun Lawwell and if Stephen Welsh stays and Kobayashi. We don't really, unless it's a quality signing we're getting in that position, we don't need any more squad players. And that, for me, is what Johnny Evans would be. We wouldn't be coming in to start a game because Starfelt, I think, is better and Vickers, and their partnership is cohesive. And I don't think he would break that anytime soon if he arrives. So that is very underwhelming from my point of view. I thought it would be a couple more rumours out, and I know you said you don't want to touch upon Friday. That's fair enough. And the two Korean boys are all but confirmed. They're meant to be joining us tomorrow morning on the Japan leg of the tour. In regards to the departure side of things, I mean, James McCarthy to start with, I don't know, like, who's going to take him? I think that maybe one of these ones will have to just pay off his contract like we did with Barkas, and hopefully maybe he does us a wee favour and takes 50% of his wage, you know what I mean, and leaves us alone. He's just, that term, he's great around it. So, I mean, I could be great around the Danix town and make people laugh. You could, Franny, you could, Anthony. It's simple. If that's a job term to play for Celtic. Exactly. If that's a job term to be at Celtic, I'm going there tomorrow. But in terms of like Liam Shaw, he came in with great potential. And William really liked him. He was a holding midfielder. He looked really snappy in the challenge. And I know he went on loan to England, and not England, but like Morecambe, I think it was, down there. And it didn't really work out for him. He's come back up. I don't think he's been involved in any of the pre-season. So obviously the lights are out for him and his Celtic career. Maybe a loan move. I know he went to Motherwell before he went down to England. So that could be a shout. Maybe go back to a team like that. Sorrow, again, we called him a bright spark in the midfield in Lenny's final season. Remember him and Turnbull were running the show, and we're all like, this is good, this is good. But see, to be fair, you look back, we were just shit, and it was only two people who were actually trying on the pitch. So I think he'll maybe go back to the Portuguese league. I think he had an okay season with the club he represented there. Who was the other ones, Anthony?
Ayeti, one, McCarthy, and Irigide. Yeah, John's favourite, Irigide.
Irigide, he's done. May as well rip his contract up. Albin Ayeti, listen, Albin Ayeti. I mean, this guy is a story, isn't it? It's an absolute story, isn't it? He went to West Ham, didn't kick a ball. David Moyes didn't know who he was. I think it was Pellegrini didn't know who he was at the time. He's came to us, basically done the same thing, and ended up being woeful. I know he had it in fits and starts, so I think he scored in the Europa League a few times, and I think he scored in like 5 games in a row at one point in the Celtic career. But
a good start.
he did, but again, it's one of these ones.
That's how you finish.
Wow. Only fans, Anthony. I think his attitude's a big issue, isn't it? We've seen that. Was it at Tannadice? He didn't really chase a ball or something, and Postecoglou didn't have him the team after that, and he was shipped out to Starin Graz in Austria. But yeah, we need to trim that squad down. I think Rodgers was right. We need to trim that squad. We have 35 players on the books. We cannot do that. That's not sustainable. Rodgers was saying about 18 kind of a core of a squad, and then out with that young players who will get a chance. So if we can get that down, narrow it down to whatever we need, I think that will be a good kind of building block to get these quality players in, hopefully before the deadline finishes in August. But I do want to come to the comments. I feel like I've kind of not ignored them, but I mean, because we've been talking a lot. But Corvo said, send McCarthy to Saudi and say it's O'Reilly, boom, 20 million easy. Paddy McLaughlin, if Tierney does come here, it'll be dragged out to the last day of the window until Arsenal are sure that they can't find a buyer, 100%. McGranda comes in, if Evans signed for Celtic, they will close Windsor Park. But again, it's one of these things, and the transfer window, me and Franny love it. We can sit in rumours all day, like just chat about it. But the Johnny Evans one can go away. And I know McGranda was being funny there, but it's one of these ones. Not because he plays for Northern Ireland or any stupid things like that. If I had to pick one player, it'd be Paddy McNair. I like Paddy McNair. I'd maybe have him about us because he's really versatile and playing midfield and defence. But Evans is too old. He's, as you said, he's been around the block. We don't need any custard dipping here. Like, we need to get brand new. So we do.
Oh, brilliant. No, but for, see, for what it's worth, Stephen, I would agree. I mean, I know the natural first sort of conclusion folk will reach is it's just the Colo Toure signing of Brendan's, second coming. But I did feel, you got to remember, Brendan Rodgers, when he first came to Celtic, it was not a complete rebuild, but it was a squad that was very much low in confidence, and it needed some of these bigger personalities to come in. We're not in that kind of place anymore, I don't think. And Johnny Evans had a pretty storied career, and he's obviously won things down south, FA Cup winner, especially in recent years. But I'm on the same page as you, I have to say, with regards to his potential signing, and I don't really think there can be any. I don't really think anything you say could be. They could argue against that with the potential outgoings in the squad as well. What about yourself, Franny? Are you going to be getting the new hoops with Evans on the back, do we think?
No, it's just simply because I'm old, Anthony. I think names in the back of the top are long gone. Like, Johnny Evans coming in would not surprise me. Again, a bit lazy because I'm looking at Colo Toure, but a bit it to me makes sense in the fact that if Brendan Rodgers sees Carter Vickers and Starfelt as his partnership moving forward, we've said we think we need another guy. All the talk seems to be that Welsh might be going out the door just more for the sake of his career. We've all questioned Kobayashi, whether he can cut it or not. And with I don't think it'd be fair on a Boston Lawal and Uragide to try and say, like, right, we need to give Kobayashi, which is maybe fair, maybe need to give him some more time to bed in the system and stuff and get used to the culture and things like that. So we're kind of got to put our faith in you. I don't think that's fair. Whereas you could go to, I appreciate a 36-year-old Johnny Evans to go, like, I just need you to come in, be an influence around the club. You've probably only got to pay the first. James
McCarthy's our family. We don't need an influence around the club.
I know, but I think James McCarthy at the time, I mean, Ross said it, and 100% agree, we needed bodies in at the time. And I think it was a name that was put forward to Postecoglou saying, look, we can get James McCarthy in. And he's went, well, I could be doing with players, but just get him in. I think Johnny Evans, I'm not saying we need players, but we potentially, if we're not going for a starter at centre half, I mean, I think we've all said that we feel we need to upgrade in the centre, or at least get cover in centre half. Johnny Evans is pretty decent cover, in my opinion. And I think
I could pick about 10 players at centre back level in the SPFL that do a better job than Johnny Evans.
Portis isn't there anymore, so that's you fucked.
Yeah. SPL watch.
Mugabe's not there
Stephen
anymore.
Tomlinson.
Mugabe, I don't think it's in the SPL anymore.
But see, Franny, I get what you're saying, right? But you're going back to
but he's probably got to come in and play about 5-6 games till Carter Vickers is back.
Yeah, no, I get that, but why are we going back to the term not beef out the squad? But you're saying they kind of act as an understudy. Johnny Evans isn't going to come with a low wage, or so maybe on a pretty hefty wage.
I'm not saying go out and get John Evans, and by all accounts,
I know you're not.
But it's one that I would understand given the circumstances. I agree. I think we need an upgrade. I do think, but if Brendan Rodgers is looking at it, and you could look at it on one hand and go like Starfelt and Carter Vickers for 2 seasons have been fucking brilliant. The weather's not that good up in Falkirk, trust me. The weather's not that good. And the mirror's not that big either. So it's a signing I can understand, but
he's on a free, isn't he?
Aye. Again, it's on a free, but I didn't want to totally quash it straight off the bat, but I think Mark Hendry, who's usually bang on the money when it comes to Celtic, has pretty much said it's a no-go, it's never happening. And I think it's rumoured he's actually signing for Everton as well. So,
aye, on the training clip, did you see that?
There's a training clip with an Everton player saying, "Oh, there's Johnny Evans." I think
they have just signed. They've just signed someone else, haven't they? It was Ashley Young. They've just signed at 38 years old as well. So yeah. Seems to be a bit of a retirement home, Goodison Park at the moment.
And then, personally, I don't see it happening, but it's one that I would understand and would not really have too much an issue with. Wouldn't really have, given the current circumstances with Carter Vickers anyway. But as for other potential incomes, like you say, Anthony, it has gone a wee bit quiet. Obviously, the 2 Korean boys are all but sealed. The centre halves on Twitter today, getting it the big I am. So hopefully. He said that this has either got to fall flat in his face or has actually got to be an absolute baller. So hopefully, it's the
midfielder.
Yeah. Hopefully it's the latter. And the keeper, I was getting a wee bit excited over the weekend. As much as I've been one of Joe Hart's biggest fans in that, I think Livakovic he's a proper player, proper keeper. But he's still no sign for Fenerbahce. I mean, Fabrizio Romano said earlier weekend, here we go, and it's Monday, what is it? We're 25 past 9 on a Monday, he's still no signed, I think. I don't know. I've not been on Twitter for the last 2.5.
It's so addicting, isn't it?
Get this wrapped up. So it's got a wee bit quiet on the rumours. I see the Tete ones kind of popped up the last sort of a day or two and things. I think if we get, I know a lot of folk are saying we want to sign the big players, and I've even said as well, I would not be surprised if we break our transfer record. But Tete on a free, I think, is an absolute no-brainer. No-brainer. I think we should be doing what we can. If that's a possible signing, I think we should be going to do it. I don't know if it's a free or we need to play some minimal compensation to Shakhtar Donetsk. I don't know how that whole.
No, it's a total free because he's terminated his contract.
I wasn't too sure how it was totally working with the situation over there. But obviously, if we were paying the full figure, I think you're quoted in it between 16 to 25 million for the guy. So I don't. Maybe if it was in the lower end of that, you maybe would go in for him. But for me, it makes total sense going getting him if there's a chance. I agree with. I can't remember who said it earlier. I think if Tierney's coming in, I think that's right at the depth, because we're not buying him. Somebody in the EPL buy him. We're only getting him on loan, and there's Stephen's dogs. If Tierney's coming in, I think we can all agree it's probably a loan deal, and I think Stephen and Ross made great points why a loan deal personally doesn't really make sense, and I can't argue against that. But I would still have him in a heartbeat, even in a loan. I think he's an absolute marquee signing, but I agree that will be last day of the window type stuff. If he's coming in, Arsenal wait to the very depth to try and sell him. I still think Brendan Rodgers will go maybe get 2 guys at your 6 to maybe. I think I was maybe getting a wee bit excited with the Readers type money, 50 million, but I still wouldn't be surprised if we break our transfer record this window. But I think. Did he call for? I like a rumour, son. I like a rumour.
He was with his agent, apparently.
Oh, no, Stephen, come on.
Interesting times ahead.
I know, so I still think we'll get a couple of big money signings in, but I think I think there needs to be a wee bit of patience with them. Will one be in before the season kicks off? Potentially, but I wouldn't be surprised if these big money guys, if we're going to spend sort of a top dollar, maybe your 10, 11, 12 million pound type figures. I think that'll be I think that'll be during August when the season's sort of kicked off, because I know we're saying we might be shopping in different markets now with the money and stuff involved, but these players with maybe like your Readers of the world, your McTominays and things, they'll hear different. The Celtic's not just their only option as much as whereas maybe like these Korean boys, I'm not saying Celtic's their only option, but Celtic's probably their best option. Whereas your Readers and McTominays, if that Van de Beek, if we're in for him and things, Celtic, unfortunately, as much as we're a massive club, we're probably not their best option. So I think the ones might drag out your Rodgers type signings, if you like, that you think the marquee type ones. I think they'll drag out. But as for outgoings, I would just Soro and I need to just get them out the door. Just cut your losses. Do it. I think you should try and get some money. You might be able to get something. Just try and recruit whatever you can. Sean Uragide, I've got a lot of sympathy for the two boys. Personally, again, it's two boys I would try and just ship out the door. I don't see them having a future. I mean, you could use the two of them, but especially at centre half, we're talking about we feel we need to go into the market for a centre half. Uragide, by all accounts, as a centre half, and he's never even saying, "Oh well, who we got him back up?" Nobody ever seems to mention him, so that tells you all you need to know about the guy and stuff. And I said, I do feel sorry for him, because I think him and Shaw were both bought on, or support, but I think there were pre-contract agreements in Lennon's last season, so they come in and they've signed a pre-contract agreement to a previous manager, and Ange just obviously didn't fancy him for the straight off the bat, which is fair enough. It's Ange will want his own guys in, so I think they forgot McCarthy. I think he's here. His contract's run out unless he just is like, let's just call it quits here. It's clearly not happening. But I think it'll be interesting to see who we get rid of. I think they four we should try and move on anyway and stuff. But time will tell, Anthony. It's teams will know we want rid of these guys, and it's especially your McCarthy's and Yetis will be on decent enough wages, so they might be happy enough to certainly McCarthy anyway. He's definitely happy enough just to sit in their wages, so it might be hard to push these guys out the door if they're getting offered lesser money.
That's it. It can be a bit harder with the guys on these longer contracts. Just try to find someone that will pay them the similar kind of money as well. It can be easier said than done at times. So last topic of the night, boys. Conscious not to try and turn it into an episode of News Night, but I just thought after reading what I seen the day, I was like, there's no way. This was after I posted the topics as well, that there's no way we could kind of let it slide. So it's kind of under the guise of an agree to disagree. But basically, so I'll come to you first, Stephen, and then but just in case any of the viewers haven't seen the articles, I'll expand on it afterwards. But basically, my agree to disagree is following today's two articles in the Daily Record, Celtic should be looking to ban the publication from Celtic Park for the foreseeable.
I totally 1,000,000% agree with that, Anthony. I think in terms of the Daily Record, for years we've seen their biased headlines and trying to stir up things within the club and also within the support. I thought the headline today about Shay Logan having like a wee tongue-in-cheek kind of gesture towards a photo of Scott Brown, I thought it was disgusting because it kind of implied that Scott Brown was involved in that whole kind of row that happened 7 years ago. And Scott Brown's a manager now. He manages Fleetwood, and that could kind of come back to bite him in that sense. When it's total fabrication and it's total lies and made up shit. Do you know what I mean? Just to kind of make a headline. We all know Shay Logan wasn't any of our favourite Aberdeen player. No way. And Shay Logan, in a sense, was what Scott Brown was the Aberdeen fans to us. He used to wind us up and was seen on the last day, one of the trophy days, he got sent off and he's banging the pads, he's walking up, he's cheering and that. That's within his own prerogative to do that. But the kind of go back to 7 years ago, however long that incident was now, it was absolutely horrible to see that. Because I seen it this morning when I was in work and I was reading it going, really? The Daily Record have made a headline about Shay Logan reigniting like a feud with Scott Brown. It's like, why are you talking absolute shit? And then Shay Logan, to be fair to him, came out, I think, a couple of hours later on his own Twitter account and said he wants the article took down, and he referenced Scott Brown as a Celtic friend. We all know they had a rivalry together, but they also played for a short time together at Aberdeen. Do you know what I mean? So there's obviously sportsmanship and respect among that situation. So, look, the Daily Record for years have been at it, and that Keith Jackson article that you said at the start of the podcast about the only reason why Doncaster, and I can't remember the other fellow's name.
I've got just before you expand, Stephen, I'll give you the quote. Just it was Keith Jackson's Monday article, and it was obviously speaking about the fallout of the Cinch sponsorship deal of the league that Rangers and the SPFL have been in disagreement with in court. Keith Jackson was given his sort of semi-literate views on it, and part of the quote here, it says, "Let's be blunt. For some years now, there's been a strongly held view inside the command centre at command centre. I mean, is this Glasgow Rangers or Power Rangers? I don't know. The command centre at Ibrox that Doncaster and McLennan have been deliberately placed in positions of power in order to facilitate the orders of Celtic's Peter Lawwell." Now, that's the kind of crackpot stuff that wouldn't be out of place on gutter pages like Follow, and yet that's getting printed in the main article, in, like, the supposed voice of the fans, the Daily Record. I think we all agree, we probably believe in a free press, but that doesn't give them the right to print lies, and certainly ones that would give out that's very shoddy legal standings. And I'll come to yourself, Stephen, again before I come to you, Franny. It's just with regards to, like you say, that all the connotations behind that article with the Shay Logan and Scott Brown thing as well, Stephen. I look, in recent weeks we've barred Peter Martin for less, I would argue. I don't agree with his opinion on Brendan Rodgers, but that's all it was, an opinion. Certainly agree with very little Tom English will ever say for BBC Scotland, but again, we barred them for having an opinion. There's nothing, legally sort of unsound about what he said. It was just I didn't agree with it. But this is a whole different ballgame. And for me, I think it's been long part. Folk of a certain age will remember, the certain thugs and thieves headlines and things like that. I think the Daily Record have been at this for years. I'd personally never have anyone for the Sun allowed in Celtic Park, and I think for obvious reasons it frustrates me that we still allow that. But I think with things like this, I think Celtic do normally take the more mature approach and say, it's a free country and whatnot. But I think there has to be times when that's quite legally damaging sort of text being written. I think we need to come down hard.
Well, it's total fabrication and lies. I mean, the reference that Peter Lawwell has puppets in the command centre of the SPFL is mental, because you look at the command centre again, Anthony, Doncaster and was it McLennan, who are in charge of that organisation. This is the same organisation that put in VAR, and we were on the end of every wrong decision you could imagine. So I mean, every refereeing decision is under a microscope when they're in charge of Celtic. And I think if Peter Lawwell was influencing things, he's doing a really shit job, to be honest. So I mean, if he was influencing change or influencing certain things going on at the governing body at the SPFL, it's for years and years and years. I mean, we're off the back of a treble, and they're talking about Rangers as this second coming. I mean, like Moses and Jesus walking up the hill type shit. And then they're talking about us like we have to recover. It's a rebuild under Rodgers. All these crappy headlines, and it's like, wow. It's the biasm is there for all to see. And I know you're saying about Celtic taking the high ground in this and being like it's free press, whatever. But as you said, Tom English and Peter Martin got banned for far less, in my opinion, like you said as well. And it should be like, I mean, Rangers done it to a certain extent with the BBC, and they've done it with Cinch. I mean, by the way, why did Cinch go grovelling back to them? I don't understand at all. Like, and then your man Bisgrove gets appointed to the board or the chief executive board on the SPFL. It's like, yeah, if you're talking about moves and influence, Keith Jackson, there's one there, buddy. But yeah, it's a total shambles, and it's borderline slander too, especially on Scott Brown, that kind of headline. And it's fabrication, it's lies, and it's leading people down the wrong path. And I want to come to the the comments as well, because a lot of people getting involved in this. Danny, same organisation that was disbanded for being biased. Patrick McLaughlin, it's not even journalism. They sky through Celtic pages of Facebook and pick out anything they can use against us. You have noticed that? Let me see here as well, if I can. Whatever, my father bastards get that shite in the bin on. And it's like, and Alistair Jack, time to draw the line, 100%. Studs, Lanegren, Celtic domination is killing the mainstream media. Brilliant, yeah. And if you look at, like, I'm not being biased here, right? But if you look at the fan media side of things now, it's booming. I would say the Celtic pages, Celtic blogs, Celtic podcasts, whoever you represent in the kind of Celtic fan way, and the comments as well, we kind of comment better on football affairs than the mainstream media do. And I think that's a part of this thing. I mean, remember when the whole Don Mackay thing came in, he was talking about the fan media is going to be more kind of stringent and more high up on the list. And I think one of the interviews, Celtic actually, Postecoglou done the interview with the fan press conference rather than the written media of Scottish football. And I think that's put the jitters up a wee bit. So they're creating headlines out of nothing. And I think that's a great point. They go back like years to find something. Like who sits in an office and gets this photo of Shay Logan and was like, I know what I can write. Like, he's not reigniting anything. It's tongue in cheek. It's a football rivalry. We've all seen it before. It happens. You move on. Whatever happened years ago has been settled now, and they need to be really careful, because can you lawsuit them? Can you do it for slander? Maybe it's not that far yet.
I'm no lawyer, but I definitely do think there's grounds there. That's a crackpot conspiracy theory and defamation of character, you could say, for the Scott Brown one. So yeah, as I say, I would be surprised and quite annoyed, to be honest, if Celtic weren't at least asking the question. Franny, what about yourself? You've sat there patiently. Stephen's articulated his points so well, as he often does, but what's your own thoughts on it? I don't know. I think you'd said beforehand that you had seen the articles before we went on the air, so what's your kind of thoughts on it all?
Well, this has got to sound contradictory. So I disagree, not quite strongly. I disagree that we should be banning the mainstream media, because like Stephen's touched on, we still have free speech. The media should, within reason, get to say what they want to say and what they think. But you can't just be making nonsense up. You can't be creating headlines. You can't be making up news. Isn't something you make up? You can't create news, if you like, which these two articles that we're referring to, Anthony, are creating news. Now, I know, obviously, I must have totally missed Peter Martin's comments, but I know Tom English, I think he was banned for, or it was certainly the paper, but off the back of Tom English's comments, calling Brendan, was it a scumbag they called him or something?
I'm not. I think I can't remember. I think it was based on. I think Tom English was essentially saying that Brendan wasn't. His first stint wasn't as successful, or it shouldn't be made out to be what it is lauded as. Peter Martin's comment was basically, it was kind of came around the time of the North Curve post as well, just moments after it became official, and he essentially said Celtic fans have got short memories. He was basically called him a charlatan and this, that, and the
so
other.
I've got the two comments mixed up. So it was the Peter Martin one I have heard then, Anthony, and not heard the Tom English one. So I can understand. I would have maybe banned it instead of the paper, banned the band name for that.
Ban the individuals rather than the actual publication.
I would ban the individual. I mean, totally contradictory, but I would ban the Sun regardless. But to be honest, I would, for many reasons, I would ban the Sun from Celtic Park. But certainly with any other papers, I would ban the individuals. Now, the Keith Jackson one, it's like you say, it's for me that's essentially bringing the game into disrepute. You're claiming there's essentially cheating going on, that Peter Law was in there for. Of course, I mean, maybe it's Peter Law's a professional guy, but he's a Celtic fan. Is he maybe? I how much an influence has he got to kind of put everything in Celtic's favour? I don't believe he will have that. Of course, he'll have an agenda, if you like. He will have Celtic's best interest at heart of any debate, which is it's only fair, or only natural. Sorry, but I mean, if he's like Stephen said, he's not got that much an influence when you think about it, because the random computer had us away for had us playing second nearly every game of the season, and then he doesn't have that much an influence when it comes to Europe, because we still can't win a game in Europe with it away the knockout fixtures, which is things. And then the Shane Logan one, that is absolutely, it's clickbait at its very best, and unfortunately clickbait makes more money than Action News. And I know
it was horrible though. It was a horrible headline.
Horrible headline. And I know Stephen Kenny touched on it earlier, and I think sort of online and podcasts, it's killing the mainstream media. I think if you really done a wee bit of research, like papers, your traditional paper does not sell as much copies anymore, and true. Things. And I think that's you just look at the mainstream media. A lot of these headlines were on Twitter. It's on their sort of web pages, if you like, now. And like the Shane Logan one, I've tried to go back to I thought, on my memory of the Shane Logan racism incident, I thought it was the fans that he was claiming he heard it. Now, so
it was Tonev, Alexander Tonev.
Right. So to then bring Scott Brown into it, a player that had nothing to do with the situation. Like I said, Shane Logan's had to actually come out publicly and go, I was having a joke with the guy, because I had seen the picture and stuff, and just thought it'd be fun to post that and things. And to actually like say that, that he's reigniting the Scott Brown racism thing, it's absolutely, it's embarrassing, it's shambolic, it's terrible. And then it's the Daily Record is actually reigniting some racism thing.
Yeah, that's actually, exactly it.
I mean, I was as much as I've said clickbait's as horrible, I was one of the guys that clicked on it to read the story. And I don't know if he's done it. I mean, I spoke to his off-air about it, but Shane Logan, there's not one quote for Shane Logan in the article. Not one quote to say even why he was pictured doing, like, obviously getting Scott Brown the fingers in that photo. There's not even a question or an answer on that. So for them to then just fabricate a racism story for that, it's absolutely...
If anything, the headline should have said...
Published? How was that? Like, see, I don't know who actually wrote the story, but how was a publisher going, aye, let's go with that? I appreciate you've got to sell papers, a headline sells papers, but it's a race, like...
But see, the headline...
the headline's saying that Scott Brown's a racist.
I know, but it should have actually said, Shay Logan disgraces himself by making obscene gesture towards Scott Brown's photo. That's what the headline should have said.
I say that'd be fairer, but at the end of the day, Shane Logan's obviously came out the back of that and said it was a joke.
Yeah, I know, but imagine, right, if you turn that around, imagine Scott Brown is at Fleetwood or whatever, right? He still is, obviously. He comes up to Celtic Park for a visit, and there's like an old photo of like Celtic pen Aberdeen, and Shay Logan's in the background of it somewhere, and he just does this. That would be like a mainstream headline. Scott Brown, whatever, he makes obscene gesture, but Shay Logan does it, and it manages to spin from Shay Logan giving him the finger to, I know I'm doing this a lot, by the way, this is just kind of emphasizing what he does. But they've spun that to make it Scott Brown's issue. It's like, what?
And like he's a racist. I mean, you go back to the Kamara one where Kamara was racially abused. I can't remember the team against, but next Celtic, I can't remember if it was Celtic and Rangers definitely played either the next game or a game soon after it, and Scott Brown straight up to Kamara and stuff. So for then a paper to actually say that, like the headline saying that Shay Logan reignites Scott Brown racism, whatever it was, it's like, no, use the paper as reigniting a fake racism. Well, I say a fake, but I think Tonev was found guilty, but a racist slur, but you're actually like reigniting something with two players that had nothing to do with the two of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's lies
It's got a press
and
at its best. It's
baseless
absolutely.
gossip.
It's got a press at its best.
Yeah, it's Scottish, journalism at its worst. But yeah, as I say, I definitely wouldn't lose any sleep over them not getting a free ride at this in the Celtic Park media room. That's for sure. But in terms of tonight's show, boys, that's us at an end. Have you enjoyed it?
Yeah, it's been good. I do want to. Yeah, it was good. It was very. I like when it gets feisty. But at the moment, we have 103 watching live at the moment, and I'm really buzzing about that. Thanks everyone.
Thanks everyone.
Sticking with us. If you could, please press that like button, share us, subscribe, do all them fun things. We're trying to grow as well, so any support is very welcome. And yeah, Anthony, I've enjoyed this podcast. It's been great. Good, a lot of topics to get stuck into.
That's it. We thought it was going to be slow news day for a Monday, but we ended up managing to generate an hour and 16 minutes worth of content, so it's not too bad. What about yourself, Franny? Have we got your annual leave off to a good start?
Oh, it's off to a good start, Anthony. As I say, we're doing a rain dance on Wednesday, but I better watch what I'm saying because Lynn's on the couch, so I'll not be doing the rain dance on Wednesday.
Super, mate. Well, I hope you enjoy the rest of your week off, and make sure those lagers are long and cold. And Stephen, I'll just leave it to yourself to promote Friday's show. I think it's going to be another spin-off, and I'll leave you to do your famous outro as well. So thanks again to everybody for watching. I didn't realise I can't see the numbers or anything. Stephen's in control of all that, so to hear that there's over 100 watching, that's absolutely fantastic, and we can't thank you enough. So over to you, Captain.
Well, on Friday, like you said, we're obviously mixing regular podcasts with spin-offs and rewinds. We're going to be looking back at a very successful season, one of the treble seasons again, and that's Martin O'Leary's treble. And we'll be looking at that really in depth. And Ram McWilliams, who done a rewind with me before, way back when we first started this, is going to be on. Yeah, it's going to be on. And who else are you on, Franny?
I think
Anthony.
I don't think I'm on Friday. No, I'm unavailable, but I'm not going to go into one of my long-winded ways.
Well, whoever's available with myself and Ryan are going to come on. We're going to have a few beers. We're going to reminisce, have a wee bit of fun. And Joe P, another 4-hour special. It could well be. And until Friday, stay well, keep safe. Hail, hail.